No, absolutely, Willem. I think as a backdrop to this whole event, it is clear that the Russian business community has for some years been concerned about sanctions imposed in 2014 and then the increased ratcheting up of sanctions that have taken place since then. The latest in the pipeline potentially is what's being described as the bill from hell by the Americans, which would provide restrictions on the ownership of new Russian sovereign debt. So it's clear that against that backdrop, the Russian business community broadly welcomes a deepening of ties with China and the potential for markets in the East that have strong demand. And China potentially represents that and is part of this broader pivot east that President Putin has pursued to offset some of the pain from that increased sanctions regime. So what do we see here? We see obviously a diplomatic offensive, and that is part of the set-piece puppet theatre that you get at these kind of events, where you see both leaders take the stage and talk about their relative ambitions, and of course President Putin talking about the importance of trust in this relationship. But you then subsequently get the businessmen doing their work, and that is where we have these deals being signed. And as you mentioned, $100 billion worth of tech-related projects on the table, and of course this latest news that Alibaba may now be involved in helping establish an increased pace of digitization here for the citizenry of Russia. I had the opportunity earlier on to speak with the PBOC former governor, a man called Zhou Xiaochuan, who had an extensive role in the Chinese machinery of power right through from 2002 until recent years. And I asked him that specific question. Would these two countries be falling more deeply into each other's arms if it weren't for President Trump and Washington pursuing sanctions against one and increased trade tariffs against the other? Let's hear what he had to say.
From economist views and also from the financial sector views, surely we would like to have the normal relationship with the United States. But however, if U.S. have some kind of sanctions or raised the tariff against China, and surely it's drive China try to look at the other market and to diversify our trade and business relationship. So in this sense, surely the China's relationship with Russia, but not only Russia, but also the other country, including EU countries, is going to have a substantial improvement. And we may consider to do the things further together.
The former PBOC governor there, Zhou Xiaochuan. Well, let's not get carried away, because clearly in terms of size and scale, the Chinese-American relationship is significantly more important. But I guess it's a measure of the shifts that are taking place here, that the amount of trade done with Russia in the first half of this year has actually doubled as the Chinese look for perhaps alternatives to products that would get tariffs placed on them by the Americans. Oil, primarily, energy assets, yes, of course, but more latterly some talk of soybeans and whether actually Russia could become a significant replacement supplier of soybeans into the Chinese market. So for the time being, I think both of these countries and their leaders are very keen to show a common face in front of President Trump and Washington. Back to you guys.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.